Here's the video on the solutions to ratio word problems. They were on slide 11, the answers were on slide 12, and we'll just be going through the answers here. Okay, so ratio word problems. Jaden and Caden share a reward of $140 in the ratio of 2 to 5. How much money does Caden get, and what percentage of the reward does Jaden get? Okay, so start with writing out things that you know. So we know that we're using some sort of total of $140. And we know that we're using a ratio of 2 to 5. Okay. So again, I'm going to label these ratios so I know what each one represents. And anytime that you have a ratio and you're given names, it just follows the order of the names. So the 2 goes with the first name, that's Jaden, and the 5 goes with the second name, that's Caden. I'm just going to represent them with J and C. Okay, so how much of the money does Caden get? So in this case, right now, we're going to be using totals, and I need a total that will eventually equal 140. Right now, the total of this money in this ratio form would be these two parts added up. So 2 plus the 5 would equal 7. So if they had $7, Jaden would get $2, Caden would get $5. But we're looking for an amount of $140. Okay, so I need to get to a scale factor from 7 to 140. So that number is getting bigger. I know I'm multiplying here. So to figure out what the scale factor is, I can do my 140 divided by the 7, which is going to equal 20. So I timesed it by 20. 7 times 20 gets me to 140. What I do over here, I also have to do to my ratio. So times 20 times 20. And that's going to give me my two new parts. So 2 times 20 will be 40. 5 times 20 will be 100. And that makes sense, right? 40 plus 100 is going to equal $140 in total. So question A was asking us, how much money does Caden get? So Caden, if I look at this one, that represents the Caden, that represents Jaden. Caden gets $100 of that of the 140 total that they started with. Okay, so there's your answer for A. And B is asking what percentage of the reward does Jaden get? So we know of that $140, Jaden gets 40. So I can actually look at this like a fraction. He's getting 40 of the $140 that they had. Okay. Anytime that you want to find a percentage, you can take your fraction, divide the numerator by the denominator. So we'll start by doing that. So 40 divided by 140. It's going to give me 0 decimal, and I'll just take 4 decimals, 2857. If you only took 2 decimals, that's okay. Your answer will be a little bit different than mine. Mine will just have decimal points. Okay, and then to create a percentage from a decimal, we take that decimal and we multiply it by 100. So the decimal place moves 2 spots, and our percentage becomes 28.57%. Okay, if you had 28 exactly, or if you rounded it to 29, that's close enough. You're on the right track with that. So the question was asking what percentage of the reward does Jaden get? So Jaden gets 28.57% of the reward. So that would be for number 1. Number 2. Okay, number 2. A jar contains 550 beans. 2/5 of the beans are kidney beans, and the rest are green beans. What is the ratio of kidney beans to green beans? How many kidney beans are there in the jar? So start off with writing out what you know. I know that we have a jar that has 550 beans in it. And I'm given a fraction here that 2/5 are kidney beans. The rest are green, right? There we go. Okay, so I'm writing out all the important information, things that I know to start with. So I need to figure out what is the ratio of kidney beans to green beans. And this is kind of easy actually, because you can use the information that you're given here. So 2 out of the 5. That doesn't mean that I create a ratio that looks like this to show the ratio of kidney beans, because this is saying that there's 2 kidney beans for every 5 green beans, right? That's not what we're actually trying to say. What we're saying for A is we need the ratio where we know 2 are kidney beans, and we need a total that equals 5. So if I start off with 2, I put a 3 here, that will give me a total of 5. And those would be the green beans. So if there was only 5 beans, like we show here in our first fraction, 2 of them would be kidney. That means 3 of them would be green beans. So that's the ratio of kidney beans to green beans. Okay, so we're looking at, therefore, the ratio is 2 to 3. Okay. All right, for B, how many kidney beans are there in the jar? So we know we have a ratio of 2 to 3, and that would be if there was a total of 5 beans in the jar. But in this case, we're looking for a total where there are 550 beans. And we need to figure out what those ratios are that would add up to 550. So I need to figure out what my scale factor is from 5 to 50. I know it's getting bigger, so I know it's multiplication. Okay, I'm going to take my 550 and I'm going to divide it by 5. In this case, it would be 110. Okay, so I know that I'm using a scale factor of 110. What I do to that one side, gotta do to the other. So my scale factor of 110 means that 2 times 110 is getting to 220, and 3 times 110 will get me to 330. And then just to double check that those are the correct ratios, if I added those together, 220 plus 330, they would equal the total of 550. Okay, so again, that was my kidney, that was my green beans, kidney, green beans. The question was asking how many kidney beans are there in a jar? There are 220 kidney beans. Okay, so that's for question 2. Question 3. A truck is carrying orange juice, grape juice, and apple juice in the ratio of 3 to 1 to 3. If there are 16 bottles of grape juice, how many bottles are there in total? Okay, so we have 3 different types of juice in the ratio, oh no, that's 3, in the ratio of 3 to 1 to 3. Okay, first I'm going to label these. So that first one was the orange juice. The second ratio is grape juice. And the third part of the ratio was apple juice. Okay, and we're looking for a situation where instead of there being just the 1 bottle of grape juice, there are 16 bottles. Okay, and then the question's actually asking us if there was 16 bottles, how many would there be in total? So I'm going to be looking for the sum of that ratio over here once I found these. So this one's pretty simple. We're looking for how we got from 1 to 16, right? And we know that that's simply timesing by 16. What I do to that one part of the ratio, I have to do to the other to make sure it's an equivalent ratio. So if everything's getting multiplied by 16, 3 times 16 gives me 48. 3 times 16 again gives me 48. And now I'm simply just adding up 48 plus 16 plus 48 to find out how many bottles there would be in total, and that equals 112. So the sum of the ratio is 112, and that represents how many total bottles there are. So there are 112 bottles in total. Okay, and that's for question 3. Question, we're going to do 4 actually here, otherwise I will run out of paper. 4. A class has a ratio of 2 to 3 girls to boys. So start by writing out what you know. 2 to 3 girls to boys. Okay. If there are 80 students, how many will be girls? Okay. So 80 students meaning in total. So right now this would be if there was a class size of 5. 2 plus 3 gives the sum of the ratio of 5. We need to know what it would look like if there was a sum of the ratio that was equal to 80. Okay, so we're looking for those two parts if there was an 80 sum. So how did I get from the 5 to the 80? I know that it got bigger. I know that I was multiplying. So you can do the opposite again here of 80 divided by the 5, which will give you 16. So I'm actually multiplying by 16 to get from the 5 to the 80. What I do over there, I have to do over here as well. So 2 times 16 will give me 32, and 3 times 16 will give me 48. And the question was asking us, if there are 80 students, how many will be girls? So for question A, 32 will be girls if there are 80 students. Okay, let's go to 4B. I'll do that over here. 4B. If there were a class of 75 students, how many would be boys? So go back to your original ratio where the total was 5, right? That was girls, that was boys. And instead of us looking for a total of 80, we're looking now for a total of, if there was 75, what would those two parts be? Okay, so again, I'm going to do 75 divided by 5 to get what that factor was, the scale factor, and in this case now it's 15. So 5 times 15 gets me to 75. 2 times 15, 3 times 15. 2 times 15 will be 30. 3 times 15 will be 45. That represents the boys, that represents the girls. And the question is asking how many then would be boys. So therefore, 45 would be boys. Okay, so that's question 4. Let's see if I run out of room. Question 5. Okay, JJ is making a batch of cookies using a recipe with the ratio of 4 to 2 to 1 for cups of flour, cups of chocolate chips, and cups of sugar. If they use 8 cups of flour, how many cups of sugar do they need? So let's just start by writing out what we know. So we have a ratio, 4 to 2 to 1, and that 4 represents cups of flour. The 2 represent cups of, we'll put chocolate chips, CC, and the last one is cups of sugar. Okay, if they used 8 cups of flour, how many cups of sugar do they need? So I'm looking now for an equivalent ratio where instead of using 4 cups of flour, I'm using 8 cups of flour. How did I get from that 4 to that 8? What would I have multiplied by in that case? Okay, and that's a simple one, times 2. And then what I do to there, I have to do to all the other parts of the ratio. So 2 times 2 would be 4 for chocolate chips. 1 times 2 would be 2 for sugar. And the question was asking then, how many cups of sugar do you need? So therefore, and this is for A, you would need 2 cups of sugar. Okay, that's for A. And B, if they made 3 batches of cookies, how many more cups of flour would they use than chocolate chips? So at the beginning it's saying JJ is making a batch of cookies. So we're going to assume that actually this ratio of 4 to 2 to 1 is for one batch. Okay, we need to actually get to 3 batches. So I'm actually going to multiply everything by 3. Because we need to make 3 batches of all of this. Okay, and then I'll get all my new parts if we were doing 3 batches instead. So 4 times 3 would give me 12, 2 times 3 would give me 6, and 1 times 3 would give me 3. The question is asking though, how many more cups of flour would they use than chocolate chips? So remember, that was flour, that was chocolate chips, that was sugar. How many more cups of flour are there compared to the chocolate chips? So I'm using that 12, take away the 6 to see what the difference is there. That's going to be 6. So therefore, there are 6 more cups of flour. Oops, oops. Flour, then sugar. Oh, no wait, it wasn't sugar. Then chocolate chips. Okay. All right, and finally number 6. Last one. Travis and Justine shared some M&Ms in the ratio of 5 to 7. If Travis had 26 less M&Ms than Justine, how many would Justine have eaten? Okay, so we start with our ratio that we know, 5 to 7, and the 5 represents what Travis is getting, the 7 represents what Justine is getting. Okay, if Travis had 26 less M&Ms than Justine, okay, right now, if I was looking at this as the ratio, Travis would have 2 less M&Ms than Justine, right? If we're looking at this as like a total, there would be 12 M&Ms in total, and Travis is getting 2 less. We need to find a situation where Travis is actually going to have 26 less. Okay, so we're looking for an equivalent ratio where eventually there will be so many M&Ms that Travis will have 26 less than Justine. So you can do this in kind of a few different ways. If you want to look at it as a trial and error and just kind of go through different numbers, let's say, let's try and create a scale factor of like 5 just to start. Okay, so times 5 times 5, we'd have 25 then over 35. And in this case, Travis would have 10 less than Justine. So I know that 5 is not the number I'm looking for. I'm looking for something a lot bigger than that. I need to get to 26. So let's instead now try, from our original one, a scale factor of 12. Okay, so now we're looking at 60 to a scale factor of what? My brain has died here. 84, that's right. Okay, 60 to 84. We're close actually. That's a scale factor, excuse me, that's a difference of 24 now. We need to get to a difference of 26. That's what we're looking for as our difference. So instead I'm going to try one more. Let's use a scale factor of 13 instead. And 13 would bring us to 65. 5 times 13 is 65. And 7 times 13 will be 91. Okay, now 91 minus 65, that in fact does equal to 26. Okay, there's our difference. So the question was asking, if Travis had 26 less M&Ms than Justine, how many would Justine have eaten? So if we go back to what these are originally labeled as, that's Travis, that's Justine, that's Travis, that's Justine, we can say, therefore, Justine ate 91 M&Ms. If there was a difference of 26, Justine would have eaten 91. Okay, hopefully this helped you.